selling your soul. Actually, you sell your body, you're selling your soul. So I've gotten one or two phone calls. I don't cry for celebrities. I mean, it's sad. I'd be like, oh, he died, she died, sad. But for Chester, it was, yeah.
All right, guys, I'm Jonathan. This is my dad's office. So for today, we have a singer. She's just released her new album, Anamkara. She's with us in the office today. Welcome, Kekhrie Ringa. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Interesting choice of an album name. Why did you name it the way you did?
Well, I was scrolling through Pinterest, to be honest, and I came across that word. And I had soulmate or soul friend, in my head. And yes, I chose the word Anamkara. It's just unique.
Well, I like that definition because the idea of it is that it's not exclusive to just romance.
Yes.
Your Anamkara could be your dog.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes.
And some people might say that's one of the most purest relationships you can have.
Yeah, that's true.
How have you sort of incorporated that into your new single?
Well, I'm not married yet, but maybe someday if God is willing, I want to get married and be with someone I can call my own. So I imagined waking up next to my husband someday and just being so in love with him. And that's the idea I had in my mind when I wrote it.
Interesting. I think back like the average life expectancy, 70 years, 80 plus if you're very lucky. And I think about that small window of time where you have to find your soulmate or your soul friend. It seems almost impossible. How realistic is it to find your Anamkara in your lifetime, you think?
Well, we either find it or he or she finds us. But it's fun looking also.
Right.
There's someone for everyone, I believe. And we just have to be patient enough and find someone we want to remain kids with, not grow old with.
I think other people can just envision this as well. The people that they've met in their lifetime, the impact that they've made in their life.
Yes.
Thinking and wondering to yourself, could that person have been my soulmate? Could that person have been my soul friend? And I just completely screwed it up.
Yeah, been there.
Do you explore those sort of themes in your album? Not particularly this song, but themes of acceptance, letting go, grief.
Yeah, of course. As an artist, I think we are very, very, very emotional most of the time. So I've had my share of ups and downs, losing people or even being rejected or rejecting people as in friends, opportunities. So it kind of makes it easier, I should say, for me to write songs. It gives me more ideas. People can relate to it. Everyone's gone through something or the other. So it helps me write better as well. So, relate with the audience.
How often do you derive your own experiences, from your past? How often do you channel that into your music?
Maybe, talking about my album, Bohem, 4 or 5 of the songs, I have like 8 songs there. So out of 8, 1 is just a chant. And that is just like a minute long. But that kind of give an idea to my friends or the listeners about my journey as a classically trained person moving on to electronic pop. I just said I am free in that song. It's just a chant, but it's like I am free. That says a lot of things.
Well, you can definitely see the difference between some of your old songs and this one. Like very reminiscent of like it's very sensual, very Marvin Gaye. Let's get it on type of vibe. Was that sort of the atmosphere that you're looking for?
Well, if I were to talk about Anamkara, yes. Well, I'm a grown lady. I turned 35 like 2 days back, 2nd of June.
Really?
Yeah. I love being a woman and, dressing up and, I think we all like looking good sometimes, maybe especially on camera. So I just wanted to be sultry and sensual, but with class and grace. I wanted to try that.
When I just researched like the definition of Anamkara, and you just said it yourself, soulmate, soul friend.
Yes.
I'll be very honest, it scares the living shit out of me. Idea of opening yourself up to somebody, the idea of exposing the most vulnerable parts of yourself, it's a daunting ask for anybody. I don't care how emotionally secure you are. It is. It's almost like letting someone look at you with an unfolding lens. When I first found out about you, the boho queen, the bohemian queen, in my mind, immediately I'm thinking Bohemian Rhapsody.
Okay.
So how, if at all, did Freddie Mercury inspire your music?
Well, speaking of the term, I never knew that, a word as like boho existed. I never knew that. And I grew up liking anything warm and cozy, you know, like this room, like the cushions and everything. And I just Googled it and came across the term. I was like, okay, this is it, because that was something I was born with. I like these things by default. So it's not something that I got accustomed to or something. It was just in me.
It was just in you.
Yeah, yeah.
Your whole style when you started off, the vintage, the comfort. I'm also sensing like a little bit of a crazy cat lady vibe. Do you sort of like channel that into your music? We just talked about your past experiences as well.
Are you asking me about the outfit, the avatar,
The whole
or
thing,
everything?
like the image.
Everything. I want to be very honest with the audience, because I think being an artist, you have to be yourself. So I want the people to see me at my worst and at my best as well, and relate to my music that way. So when it comes to outfits also, I like wearing anything that's comfortable. Yeah.
So just taking this a little bit back.
Yes.
When you're creating an album like this, what's your process like? Do you have like a method where you go into that zone of creativity? Do you just start brainstorming?
Oh, I wish I could just brainstorm. A couple of songs. For example, there's a song called Here. My previous album, it's titled Boho. So there's a song called Here. It took me 10 minutes to write
10 minutes.
Something triggered me and I just wrote it. And then there's Anamkara, to be honest. I wrote the first verse and for about a month it was just blank, because I wanted the second verse to be a bit different. So I have an amazing singer-songwriter friend. His name is Shaluk, and he sings as well. So I called him up and I was like, okay, so I'm stuck somewhere. Just help me out. And he got the idea. So I told him like, okay, it's like emotion plus 50 Shades of Grey. So he came up with the second verse. He helped me.
So essentially you just wait for the inspiration to come to you.
Yes. I don't want to just write, for the sake of finishing a song. Yeah.
Right, because it comes out half-assed. The listeners aren't stupid. Like they can
Of
tell.
course.
It's the same thing with movies. We can tell
Yes.
whether it's rushed
Yes.
and that they were just like doing it for a cash grab.
That's true.
Like, what's my train of thought?
This is so interesting. Very different from the interviews I've done.
The thing is, like, most people do this and they come with like a certain idea of what the podcast is going to be. And I think maybe they think more like a interview style question.
Yes.
They can just come in and sort of get surprised a little bit.
This is nice.
But as long as you're comfortable and, you know,
Very
you're
comfortable.
sort of shooting the shit. I read in an article. Was it an article, Morning Express, somewhere?
Okay.
That you used to be bullied specifically for the way you look.
Yeah. If you asked me this like 20 years back, I would be complaining. But I think now it's like, it kept me grounded. If I wasn't bullied, I think I would have gone some other direction and lost my mind or something with pride, you know. So it kind of kept me grounded. I mean, being bullied is not a good thing. Yeah, but if, you know, it made me work harder. It made me want to sing more.
Famous comedian Dave Chappelle, he said it was a bit extreme,
Okay.
but there's a bit of truth in there nonetheless. He used to say, if you didn't have a fucked up life,
Yes.
I don't want to hear your material, because I know it's not going to be anything good, albeit a bit extreme. But the idea he was trying to get at was that people who come from a hard life, people who live a hard life, they're always self-hating, they're always self-loathing, you know, because they feel like their craft is never good enough, because they're trying to achieve the impossible, which is perfection.
Yes.
But in pursuit of it, you get something very close. Do you use those sort of like as fuel to put out new music?
I believe that God created me to sing, so I sing. So no matter what's happening, I don't like stopping and looking around and complaining. Like, I came here to sing, so I'm going to be singing.
You're also an only child, right? You don't have any siblings?
Yes, only child.
That make it harder for you to go into the music business?
Pros and cons of it. Like, I have to be both the son and daughter. Yeah.
You talked very briefly about how, you know, for your looks, because the question becomes, what is a Naga? You know, what does a Naga look like? How does a Naga act?
Supposed to look like? We are so good at bringing each other down most of the time. And I think Nagas don't need outsiders to, you know, put each other down. We have each other for that. So uniqueness is usually accepted by outgoing people, open-minded people. Anything out of their comfort zone becomes disturbing if you are kind of a hypocrite. And I think it's our job to make hypocrites as uncomfortable as possible. Yeah, comfortable as possible. Yeah.
Just speaking to Lichan about this the other day, where we were talking about how we're always ready to put someone down.
Yeah.
And we see someone with a BMW, we see a singer in a really nice venue, and immediately our first thought is, well, dirty money.
Yes.
The point that we were trying to make at that time was it's very easy for us to bring people down so that we don't have to admit and acknowledge our own shortcomings. Going through your music career, what was the realities of something like that? Was there always like people trying to bring you down, or did you have a strong support system?
It's like 50-50, I think. Parents were always very supportive. I don't have my mom with me anymore. My dad's very supportive. A few good friends. If you know what you want, you wouldn't really need motivation all the time. Just the fact that you know what you want should be motivation enough for you, right? So I don't look for, help and support all the time, or a good word from people or good comments, in the comment section to keep me motivated. It's very good. I'm glad there are people who likes my music, who listens to it. Very grateful for it. But at the same time, I don't like depending on validations to do what I'm doing.
My professor used to say that fans are like fair wind. They'll be with you and the next day they're against you.
Someone better comes and they're with them again.
Would you say your past experience is what gave you sort of this thick skin?
My mom, I got it from my mom. She was very hard-headed and very stubborn. And I think being stubborn helps as well. You want something, you pray for it, go after it, you get it. And obviously you'll face hindrances. And I think that's what makes the journey more beautiful and worth talking about.
Interesting.
Yeah.
When I was sort of doing a little bit of research into the music industry, I got to talk with some singers, I got to talk with musicians, even some music producers here. One of the things that was kind of shocking to me was immediately when I was talking to some of these people, certain names kept coming up.
Okay.
Certain names kept coming up repeatedly.
Oh.
And we're going to put the word in there. We're going to put the word allegedly, these individuals selling their time, selling their bodies. My concern was, are these the sorts of realities that an aspiring singer, particularly a female aspiring singer, have to face when they want to enter into the industry?
Well, I've had my experiences, but I'm not an angel. But I can proudly say I've said this in a lot of interviews, especially even in the church when I speak sometimes, How do you look at yourself in the mirror after you have sold yourself for something? It's just not right. If you have done it willingly, it's a different thing. But, for platform, for money, for recognition, for fame, selling your soul, actually. You sell your body, you're selling your soul.
Right.
Yeah. So I've gotten one or two phone calls, but see, God never gives you a gift to put you to poverty. Yeah. So since God has given me the gift of singing, I cannot be abusing it and misusing it. True. Yeah. So the offers have been there, but I've ignored it.
I was more shocked at the fact how open it was. It's like an open secret.
That is very true. I'm not bragging. I can sing, so why should I sleep with anyone?
True. People like us, spectators, on the outside looking in, we see the nice venues you guys are singing at. Yeah. We see the nice place that you guys live at. We don't get to see the struggle. We don't get to see the progress. We get to see the sort of the end result.
Yeah.
One of my favorite rappers, Biggie Smalls, he used to rap near street corners, right next to grocery stores. That was one of the most safe places because that's where the cops wouldn't harass you. He'd rap and then he would hand out his mixtape.
Oh.
Do you have any interesting sort of places where you actually sang at, where you were asked to sing at?
Not unusual places, but a good number of songs for no money sometimes. I started off that way. Maybe 1,500 rupees for like 5 or 6 songs, But the passion was there. So, I just wanted to sing. That's how it started. For me, if you're talking about challenges, it's just the physical health, sometimes I want to drink chilled water sometimes, or if I'm singing, I control it. For example, if I'm singing tomorrow, I wouldn't be having this ice cream today. Yeah, something like that.
Do you think those pressures are more because you're female?
No, it's just I don't want to lose my voice. That's I want to sing well.
Just because I'm in front of a singer, let me just brag.
Tell me.
So me and my cousins, we entered a band competition.
Wow.
And we won 3rd place.
Wow.
Okay, we had to sing like one was our choice was Boulevard of Broken Dreams.
Oh.
And one was picked by the supervisors, which was Nirvana, Come As You Are.
Okay.
We sang that and we got 3rd place out of 4 bands.
Oh, wow. Congratulations. Oh my gosh, the one band who got counted out. I'm sorry.
Well, one of the things that was very surprising to me and something that, I tried to get tips from other singers, but one of the things that goes underrated for people, uninitiated, people like us who have no idea, was breathing control. It's one thing when we're talking at this decibel right now,
yes.
but it's a completely different thing when you're trying to project your voice to an audience.
Yes.
I could sing maybe half a word and I'm already out of breath. And me being the idiot that I was, I didn't know breathing control. So I'll be breathing right into the mic. I'd be like,
Oh.
like, is that something that you master with experience?
Yes. I've had my teacher say this to me once, like it was initial stages of singing lessons.
Okay.
And she was like, oh my gosh, the whole Nagaland would have heard you take a breath, on the mic. And I was like, okay, so how am I supposed to breathe? And in the lessons that happened for 3.5 years, 4 years, it helped me work out. Yes. And sing while working out also. Kind of lets your body get adjusted to moving around, especially if you're in a band or you're in a very preppy place, club or something. You can't just stand there and sing. You're running around, you're dancing at the same time, Yeah.
Well, that was an interesting conversation that I had with a mutual friend of ours, LC.
Okay.
He's a rapper, and one of the things I really wanted to sort of ask him, and I did, was stage presence. He's also an actor, as you know, he's in that web series.
Yes.
How difficult is it to make your presence known in a 16:9 screen versus a whole stage, like say in Hornbill?
Oh, I love flirting with the camera. Not the person behind it, just that camera, So it's, I keep telling myself, okay, this is my song. Right. It can be a cover, but when I'm doing it, it's my song. So I just tell myself, I have to do this. I'm doing this. This is what I wanted. So let me do it.
Interesting. Well, speaking of good vocal health and like in general just being healthy, did you hear about what the Assam police is doing? They're giving their police a chance to get their BMI, their body to mass index ratio, to a healthy size. If they don't, they have to voluntarily retire. Oh. A huge percentage of them are alcoholics, which is what's leading to their obesity. So I love it. I love the idea because...
Can we get that here? I love my body. I just have one body. There's no replacement. So, well, I drink wine sometimes, but I don't abuse anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Moderation.
Yeah.
It seems to be something that's like
Balance.
completely unknown to people sometimes. One of my first exposures to your music, and I think I would say to a good number of people as well, I would argue, was Girl in 14G.
Yes.
Right? And well, particularly the composer Kristen Chenoweth.
Yes.
It's interesting because when we used to live in the South, she was known for two things. She was known for singing in the church when she grew up as a little kid. Oh. Which is very similar.
Start there.
And two, she was most popular in our family anyway. Was known for being a comedic actress. Yes. She played that blonde ditzy character.
Yes. Amazing performer.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's shocking to find out that, oh my God, like she wrote this piece of music. Do you think it's sort of interesting how we isolate artists into their specific genre, into their career, and neglect all the other aspects of their life? Like LeBron James, he's a basketball player, but he's done so much for charity work. He's built schools in Africa. So do you think it's fair to put these labels on artists?
I think it depends on what they're famous for. You can be doing anything, but what you do on camera is what people remember you for,
What do you want your legacy to be?
I just want people to remember me as someone who didn't know, who just wouldn't shut up. And I want them to just remember me as someone who sang her feelings, who sang, who was an artist first. Then second, an entertainer.
Why do you think like the structure has changed so much? What do you credit that to? Globalization?
I hope so. And just the consumers keeps changing their tastes. So if you want to make money, sometimes you have to give them what they want as well.
Right.
Yeah.
It's very true.
It's like a buffet. You have to cook something you're not familiar with. If the audience wants to eat that, sometimes you just have to cook it. Yeah.
How do you as an artist, how do you as a singer, how do you balance your own artistic vision and commercial success? Do you feel pressured to compromise one for the other?
Well, I'd rather be relatable than just irrelevant. I don't want to just follow trend for the sake of it, because that makes me lose my originality as an artist. And if, like I said, if I can't be honest, what's the point? I would just be following trends. One day people are twerking, okay, so I'm twerking today. And the next day everyone's singing gospel, and then I start singing gospel. It just doesn't work that way. But I try to balance. I would say this, I make music for two groups of audience. Can I say that? Like two types of audience. One can be, I would, dress very formally or wear my traditional attire, sing in Tengidie, like the local dialects for that general crowd, I think. And then for the mainstream, that there's Anamkara or Bohem, try to balance that.
Okay.
Yeah.
When I first sort of saw one of your interviews, your English is very good. And I don't necessarily just mean the accent. Like I always tell people, forget about the accent. Like that's the last of your priorities.
Yes,
Like you should really think about your grammar, even your
diction. Yes. I've never been conscious about these things, but I grew up in Mezar.
Oh, Mezar, higher secondary school.
Yes, literally.
I went to school there.
Oh, so you know how strict they were. Yes, they hear you speaking in anything else. Yeah, you get punished. So I'm glad they did that. And I watched an interview. I think it was Rendezvous with Simi Gariwal, and Zina Rahman was there. I don't remember saying this in any of my interviews.
Okay.
And I watched her interview and she spoke so gracefully, so fluent. I was like, oh my gosh, this lady. And I was like, okay, I want to try doing that. Not just, it isn't imitating, but just the inspiration, the grace she spoke with. She was just talking about everything and anything. But it was so nice to listen to her. Yeah, so it kind of inspired me also. My voice teacher, is an American, Ken Hansen. So I was with him for about 3.5 years. He hardly had an American accent. Like I couldn't figure out where he was from. But diction is so good. And we took diction lessons as well. And when I went for my degree in music, the first month, my teacher made me just read the lyrics. No singing.
The lyrics.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how she helped me. And then I had another teacher at the beginning, and then I moved to Ken Hansen, and yeah, that's how it happened.
What was your progress like from learning English to getting better at it? Was it like expedited?
Oh my gosh. I still have some empty eyes here and there. Angami and Chaksang mix, so it comes in, sneaks in when I'm like not conscious about it. Diction classes, I'm glad they existed. When we first started our singing lessons, we started with Italian songs because it's easier than English.
How so?
It's pronounced the way it's written, kind of.
Interesting.
Yeah, it sounds like Tengidie. It's like reading Tengidie. Yeah, so it was easier. Then we moved to German, which is so hard. Then French and English, I think. So English was kind of considered as a very difficult language, fluid language. Yeah.
Well, if you could speak any language or you could sing in any language, what would you prefer?
Oh my gosh, I like Tengidie.
You like Tengidie?
Yeah, it's just beautiful.
When you're collaborating with other artists, I know maybe someone like me, someone who's a bit more immature, a bit more overconfident, I would try to overshine that singer.
Okay.
Does that take patience, bringing down your ego? How do you collaborate with other people without feeling like you're left below them?
If you know your worth, you don't have to prove yourself to anybody. And the more you learn, the more you know what you don't know. It humbles you. You learn a little thing and then pride comes in. But the more you're exposed to people who know so much more than you. Right. Like the more you can learn everything in the world, and there will always be someone who knows more than you.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And it humbles you very quickly.
Yes, or like an Asian kid who does it better than you.
We all know they do.
Yes.
Going back to sort of like vocal health and to maintain it, that was one of the reasons why Adele was gone for almost 6 years. She had strained her voice to the point where she couldn't sing anymore. How have you sort of maintained good vocal health? Any drinks that you drink?
Wine. I try to avoid anything cold. I mean, maybe it works for some people. For me, it doesn't really help anything chilled or cold if I have a performance coming.
Okay.
I don't want to be coughing or have a dry throat or, have a congestion anywhere. Right. So, and I'm allergic to dust. So, yeah.
And you live in Dimapur.
Yes, I know. And I try not to scream. Maybe the last time I screamed was like 2 weeks back. There was a spider in my room. So, naturally it came out. And I try not to talk too loudly as well.
We just talked about this earlier where you said you had like a very deep voice.
Yes.
Do you ever revert back to that voice?
Deep as dark. Dark,
What's the difference?
It's, how do I put it? You can think of symphonic metal, maybe. I have not done the genre, but I listen to it.
Okay.
So whatever you listen to, you kind of absorb it, right? Yeah.
What was sort of your influences growing up?
Christina Aguilera. Oh my gosh, I love her.
Well, she has like a crazy vocal range.
She sings her heart out, first of all, and she has some very sweet songs like that are not high pitched, but those are so calming. She can say, for example, maybe a song like "Loving Me for Me," no high notes, such a sweet melodious love song, and then she has the voice within where she's literally belting. So the balance that she has, the childhood that she had, and just everything about her, she's very bold.
She is. I mean, even outside of music.
Yeah.
I remember back when she used to have that beef with Eminem.
Getting to perform on stage at Radio City. Meeting Janet Jackson. Eminem. Anyway.
Yes. Well, yeah.
That was a funny one.
Two people I like so much, but yeah.
When you look at sort of these influences in your life, do you have any other ones?
I like Paramore. Yeah, her energy, Hailey, right?
Hailey.
Yes, I think that's her name. Yeah.
Right. I think she also sang like Airplanes, right? B.O.B.
Yes. I like her energy on stage.
These are all like very OG.
Yes.
Like, people.
Yeah.
I think like people, we might like be dating ourselves, but like, do you have like any standout music that you think back of that sort of catapulted like your music career, that you always sort of think back and was like, that was that defining moment in my life?
Okay. Well, I grew up wanting to be a singer, and I remember one afternoon I was listening to the radio and I heard Genie in a Bottle, Christina Aguilera. Yes. So I didn't pay attention to the lyrics or the concept because I didn't know what she was singing about. But I heard her voice. I was like, okay, she sounds so good. I think I really want to sing. Yeah, and I never looked back.
And you got your first break at a church?
Yes, of course, at a church. I started... the first time I held a mic was in the church. I was in Sunday school. Oh my gosh, I ran home to my mom. I was like, I held a mic today, no?
Does that get easier, stage fright?
Oh, no, I still have stage fright. My close friends would tell you how much they get pinched before I walk up on stage. Yeah,
really?
It still happens.
Is it harder when it's in a venue filled with people, or is it hard when you're in more intimate settings?
Intimate settings.
Yes.
The more the people, the easier it is. Yeah.
Do you have any like methods how you sort of get into that zone where it's just like, okay, I know I'm nervous, but...
I walk around. I love flirting with the crowd. So I just walk around and get comfortable. Sometimes they don't respond. Like I call them, to come and dance in the front, and some come, some doesn't. But whatever makes them enjoy the music. There are different ways of enjoying someone's music. For example, if I'm listening to an artist, I want to dance to it. And there are times when I'm driving, I listen to a particular singer. So it depends on the audience. I want the audience to enjoy my music the way they want to enjoy it. Yeah.
Do you change your music based on the emotions of the audience? Let's say you have your set songs picked out, and maybe you sense that the crowd is a bit more mellow. And do you sort of change your songs at the last moment to suit the atmosphere of the crowd?
I don't remember doing that much, but I connect with them. I start talking. Yeah.
Right. I feel like that's one of the easiest things that you can do. It's very daunting when you're meeting someone for the first time. You have stereotypes, you have preconceived notions.
Yes. Gosh, that is very common here.
Right. So it's better to just break the stereotype and just talk to them. And you realize, these are just normal people. For the average local, you're definitely on top.
I hope so. In Nagaland maybe. But I tell people, well, I'm proud of being a Naga, but this is a very small place.
It's a bubble.
Yeah, it's a bubble. So being famous in a bubble is a good thing. I'm grateful, but you're not a celebrity. I'm not a celebrity yet. No, I shouldn't be considering myself as one yet.
What are you aiming for then?
Just making more songs where I'm more mature and people know, okay, this lady has grown up. The desire I have is to have like an audience who are actually interested in my music. They can be drinking, smoking up, or even reading the Bible, anything, be themselves. So I can be myself and share my music with them. That's something I dream about.
We talked about this, or you mentioned this prior, that, your attention can go one place to another. So like, how does that work when you're up on stage?
Everything. I want to look, trying to look effortless takes a lot of effort. So I try to do that, look effortless. And also sometimes even in the middle of a break, like when there's an instrumental break, I say a quick prayer in my heart. I'm like, okay, Lord, this is going well. Continue to help me. If I see a friend or I know there's a friend out there, then I just wave at them, just to have that connection. And lyrics, of course, I do not want to forget the words.
Have you ever forgotten the words?
Sometimes, but a lot of times I've put in my own words. Like I just make it up on stage, like, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you sung it so many times, right?
Yes, sometimes.
I know, what's his name? Patrice O'Neill. He's a comedian. He had a very interesting pre-ritual before he goes up on stage.
Okay.
He would buy like a fresh new pair of shoes, and he would be walking around in his socks in the green room. And until it was ready to go, and then he would slip them on. So that was sort of his way of getting into the zone of performing. So do you have sort of any like maybe rituals like that?
Of course. It's very important to know your songs too well. You get confidence. Because if you're not prepared, confidence just gone, right? So I make sure I know my songs very well. And I have I imagine the crowd listening to the song. I think we attract what we desire so much. So I kind of imagine the crowd actually listening to me, you know? So I get the adrenaline rush. And you can trick your brain. You feel good. Like, for example, you like eating cake, example, and you imagine yourself savoring it, and your brain feels good, right? Because your brain doesn't know whether it's real or not. So I try to get that feeling into me, and I warm up, I sleep well. A day before performing, I try not to talk so much. I kind of avoid, you know, and then I just take a walk, maybe spend time with my dog, pray, of course. But how can you be praying if you're not prepared? God, I don't think God can help you if you're not doing your homework, you know?
How hard is it sometimes when you have people who are a bit rowdy? How hard is it to keep your professionalism, if at all?
I sang at a club recently, so I asked for bouncers in advance. So
yeah. I would hope so. Yeah.
Depends. Depends on the occasion, depends on the venue, depends on the songs that you're singing as well. And also the distance, just maintain your distance. If you know that the crowd is rowdy, don't stretch. Yeah, don't touch them, don't let them touch you. Just be very friendly, but at a distance.
I always think how artists sort of take their past trauma and they put it into their music. Are you aware of Linkin Park?
Yes, of course.
Chester Bennington.
I cried like a baby. I don't cry for celebrities. I mean, it's sad. I'd be like, oh, suicide. Oh, he died. She died. Sad. But for Chester, it was. Yeah.
Everyone's heard the quote. Sings like an angel, screams like a demon.
Yes.
And that was sort of the range that he had.
Yeah.
And with Linkin Park, most Naga kids will know who Linkin Park is. That was literally our childhood.
Yes.
And when you look at someone like him who suffered from depression, you know, and not just that, you know, he was sexually abused for a very long time. And he grew up with this pain. And that's why a lot of his music, Numb is a great example of him trying to numb himself through substance abuse.
Yes.
And then we have the other side of the spectrum. We have someone like Taylor Swift,
who,
you know, uses her exes as material for her new song.
And she's doing well.
Doing very well. When you have these songs that you put out, it comes from your own inspirations and your own experiences. Is it a compliment to you if people interpret it in a different way other than the way you originally intended?
I love that, actually. Yeah, we have our own perceptions. When we put our art out there for consumption, we give freedom to the audience to think whatever they want, because they have the right to either take it or let it go. They can judge us also. Judging people is such a big word, but we give them the freedom to think whatever they feel like, because we are also exposing ourselves to their judgments, right? So it's up to us whether we take it or just ignore it. Yeah.
One of the things that kind of shocked me when it came to just singing in general or just music in general was how homogenized the accents were.
Okay.
Like you'd have British singers, Australian singers, singers from South America.
Yes.
Why do they sound American? You have like outliers. You have people like Adele, she still sounds very British.
Yes.
Ed Sheeran still sounds very British. The 1975 sound very British.
As British as they can. Yeah.
Why does it seem like that accent is sort of the standard for singing? Like I would like to hear some British accents.
I think it's because we look up to them. Because we have some girls, I'm sorry, I think I'll get crucified after I walk out, but a good number of people trying to imitate the Korean culture right now, K-pop. Yeah, we absorb very easily. Yes. We follow what's selling.
Interesting.
Yeah. You know, there were maybe a couple of years ago, some artist, K-pop band, I think they were here.
I saw that.
Yes,
yeah,
and there were like girls literally screaming. And I'm happy because I want them to do the same when we go there. So it's an exchange of art and culture. Sure. Yeah, I hope they also get interested in our music the way we are, like about their music.
Have you always wanted to be sort of, like you always realized that you weren't made to sort of fit in?
I never really fit in. Once upon a time I was complaining, and now I'm happy standing out. I mean, you don't want to be like everybody else. I feel safer being different because if I fail, at least I can say I tried something no one has tried. Yeah, and I failed, it's okay. But if I'm doing what everyone else is doing and I fail, it's embarrassing because someone else was successful. I wouldn't say, oh, I'm so different, I stand out. That's not what I mean, but I just want to be myself because no one can be you better than yourself, right? Sure. No one can be you.
Do you think what's missing is sort of the struggle?
I think what's missing is support towards our younger generation to follow their heart. Yeah, education can be bought. It's very easy. Wisdom is something that comes from God. And I think it's very important to pray and know your passion, what you're gifted with, first of all.
Okay.
And if you know you have a gift, you just go for it. So I would encourage also parents to not force their dreams on their children. Right. Yeah, if you couldn't be a doctor, please don't, or an engineer, don't force your children to become one. Right. Yeah, because you don't want, well, maybe someday if God asks you, I gave the gift of singing to your child, and what have you done to him or her, something like that. I'm just saying.
Well, how were your parents?
Oh, dad at first, I understand the generation gap. So he also stressed on the importance of a government job. But I told him that this is what I'm going to do. But if I get into a government sector, like a government job, I will never be happy. Right. Yeah, I want to sleep peacefully at night. And right now what I'm doing, I may not be making so much money. I'm happy. I sleep peacefully.
When was that turning point where he was actually convinced that this was something that you could potentially do for the rest of your life?
It was a consistent growth. It just didn't happen overnight. But the point where I was like, oh, okay, he got it, was this year.
This year?
Yeah.
And you've been a singer for how long?
Oh, forever. I'm like a dinosaur. I started singing in Sunday school, but professionally, maybe making some money out of it, started in 2005. Yeah.
And he accepted that this year.
Yes. But he always supported. He just wanted to make sure that I wouldn't go broke, So that's why he cared. That was his way of loving me. Yeah. But then he started noticing that I was okay, So, yeah.
Is it a surreal feeling when you've been doing this for so long, and now you have 10-year-old kids, 10 plus year old kids who are looking at you and they're calling you a mentor? Is that like a weird feeling?
I love it, but it's like I want them to do better than me. I want my students to do so much better than me because they have so much, platform.
Right now,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, and they have internet. We didn't have that
Social
growing
media,
up.
exactly.
Social media. They have Instagram, they have YouTube. We didn't have that growing up. So they have so much more opportunities now. So I want them to do better than me.
So it's easier now than it was before.
Kind of, yes. Lots of competition now,
right.
But it's fun.
Is that a good thing? Because when it's oversaturated, the key standouts, you can pick them from a crowd of...
Yes, that's right. The authenticity. It may not become very popular, but the ones who notices it are like super genuine people. So audience, like you can have 10 million people just listening to your song today, and tomorrow they find someone else. But if you have this authenticity, you have your own crowd who really gets you, not just as an artist, but also as a person.
Outside of music, you talk a lot about women's issues.
Men's issues as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Which ones?
Now, I spoke about this. I think I wrote about this. Men should be allowed to cry, share their feelings. Because men, you suppress it, you get into depression. I think it's manly to cry.
It doesn't help when you're bottling it up.
Oh my gosh, no. It gives birth to so many things.
It's hard for us, I think, some of us to identify the fact that...
Yeah, because you're brought up like that. Like that, maybe?
Right. And how easy it is to fall into that trap.
Yeah.
This isn't a therapy session, but I mean... Well, going back to it, when you talk about women's issues, an incident that happened a couple weeks ago, did you hear about the 13-year-old girl in Maharashtra? She was killed by her brother. Mistook her monthly period thinking she was having an affair with somebody.
Wow.
This is a mixture of confusion, ignorance, stupidity, and her brother was a 30-year-old man who doesn't know the difference between menstrual periods.
It's still a hush-hush topic, and periods are normal. If women didn't have their periods, the world would have ended a long time back. That's how babies come from, where babies come from. Oh my gosh. It's a beautiful thing. Yeah, it's normal. God created it. So how can you be disgusted by God's creation?
Lack of education for sure. Women empowerment is definitely one more thing.
Yeah.
Lack of sex education. Number one, look, we look at the Western people and we think like they're too liberal. But at least they teach their kids about safe sex.
Yes.
It seems to be so stigmatized. The problem's gone even worse. Like look at Dimapur right now. Didn't the increase in prostitution?
Yes. I think, well, if I could give an opinion, I think sex education should start at home and also Sunday school.
Sunday school?
Yeah.
Interesting.
You educate the children about, you can mix it with religion or spirituality and let people know that the body, it's precious, it's something precious. If you choose to do it, then you should know what you're doing, not just do it because it's a trend.
We shouldn't be under the pretense that these kids are going to be virgins
forever.
Well, especially not till like they're married.
Yeah, let's be real here. I mean, come on, it is 21st century. You want to save it till marriage, good for you. You want to do it, go ahead, but make sure you know what you're doing.
At least make it safe.
Yes.
Like if you're gonna
if you can't be good, be safe. I think it comes down to where we are brought up. Yeah. We can't be doing everything that the Western people are doing. We have our own, tradition and culture. And also, I think it's very important to respect your body. That's it. That's what I would say.
Respect your body.
Yeah. If you choose to be, see, the Bible can never be wrong, first of all. But it's happening. So, people sleeping around or, I've heard of wife swapping happening here. Yeah. It's happening. So let's not just, pretend to be so righteous. Educate each other. So like I said, start young. So we have to put sex education in the church as well. It's a separate session, not for the devotional service, of course, but a separate session where kids know what they're exposed to because we have the internet now.
Right. And kids nowadays, they're going out with porn on their mobile phones. Yeah. If parents saw what kids are watching today, they would have to wash their eyeballs for a fortnight. It's so easily accessible.
Even today, parents watch. Let's be real.
So the idea, like we were just talking about, of pushing it to the side and pretending like it doesn't exist is not helping anybody.
The more you pretend, the worse it gets. We have to address these issues openly. Just be open about it so that even children learn to speak out.
Right.
Yeah.
And one of the other things, prayer centers just aren't the answer anymore. Fine, maybe it'll help for some people. When are we going to sort of be more modern, do you think, with our take on mental illness?
People don't recognize that it's a mental illness, first of all. Like suppose you're depressed and you try to talk about it, or people just say, oh, some mood swings, We don't know the differences. Yeah, we need to be aware of the symptoms.
Even if you want to get married, I think you got to talk to a psychologist because that's like your whole life commitment. You need to talk to somebody.
True.
It's not something that can easily be brushed off as a decision. And the prevalence of mental health is ridiculous. I was listening to stories how parents would lock their, I won't be very specific, but they lock their son in a pig shed.
Oh wow.
In a pig shed for 15 years.
Why?
Because he was mentally ill and they had no idea what to do with him. So they would frequently take him out of this pig shed to take him to those prayer meetings and prayer houses. It didn't help. And then they would bring him back in. And I'm like,
wow.
15. And look, I'm not encouraging it, but the parents, but the parents were a little bit old. They were in there. And by the time he actually did get some real help, he came out of there better.
I think we need to think about, this is just my personal opinion, no? Not speaking on behalf of anyone. We need to know what caused it. Even the mental illness, the root. Instead of just saying, oh, he's sick, let's pray. We have to know what caused it. Go to the root and take care of that.
What we learn about in school is that when you have a traumatic past, when you have been abused as a kid, sometimes you don't recognize the symptoms until you're like in your 20s.
Yes.
And you realize, my goodness, like I was actually abused. Any kind of school, they'll teach you on this. Consent, consent, consent. It can be taken away at any time. Just because you said yes at the beginning doesn't mean it's yes throughout the whole night.
Yes.
It can be taken away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even with celebrities, you don't just go up there and put your arm around them and
Yeah.
take a selfie.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Right. Do you think it's because people listen to your music, people listen to your interviews, they feel that sense of ownership to you?
Well, I've been told that I look very unapproachable, first of all.
Really?
It's nice. My close friends, they know me. If I'm comfortable, I'm comfortable. But I don't know, I've been told that I look unapproachable, so people don't really, try to get too close. So
Have you had any like weird fan interactions?
weird, I don't know, like I was performing with Fire Flood and there was this crowd in the front and I remember someone like just grabbing my hand and not letting go, so yes, so the band, like some of the musicians, the boys, they had to come and literally help. Yeah.
When you've interacted with other foreign singers, do you sort of spot the differences in your music and the way they've done things, or have you seen the similarities?
We have more of their personalities, their characters in us than they have of us, because we absorb so much from the Western culture, like I said. Yeah. If it's something good that we got from them, just being bold, I like that about them.
Right. Like they're not afraid to go after what they want. I think we give a lot of shit to mainland Indians. I think the idea is that, they have no shame. They're like this, they're like that. They're stealing our jobs. That's because we don't want to do them.
Yeah.
Like why are we blaming them? It's our own fault anyway.
Yeah.
I think which is why Dimapur is such a
crowded place.
I'll be honest with you. I don't know what you like about Dimapur. Please tell me. I like
the space to park my car wherever I feel like, the big roads, and accessibility. Like I said, I want to fly somewhere. It's easier, And I'm allergic to cold. So the winters
You're
here,
allergic to cold and dust?
Yes. So colds, like Kohima summer is quite pleasant, of course. But it's not like we work in the scorching heat and anything. We have our the fans, AC, everything. So it's fine, right? And I don't know. It's a bit congested here.
You think so?
I mean, the house, like you can literally see your neighbor's teeth sometimes, from your window. I prefer summer here.
Only for summer here?
Yeah.
Okay.
The air is fresh, I think both Dimapur and Kohima, it's like Kohima has its own advantages, disadvantages for Dimapur as well. I enjoy both.
This is sort of my thing against Dimapur. It's not a huge thing. But I always get a little upset that when foreigners come in and they're coming for like hornbill, whatever, tourists, and their first taste of Nagaland is Dimapur, landing at the airport. Because to me, Dimapur is not really Nagaland. It's a diverse form. It's more business orientated.
Yes.
I wish they would like land in Konama. I wish they would land in Mokokchung, Woka.
Yes.
If you really wanted to get a taste of Nagaland.
Yeah.
Did you see that guy that came out, that mainland Indian guy?
Yes,
and he was talking about
doesn't
Dimapur?
feel like Dimapur, Well, that's where the airport is. Yeah.
Man, okay. Thank you so much, Kekhrie Ringa. Like, this has been an amazing time. You came all this way, Dimapur, just for this.
It's fun, right? I had a very good time, and I'm glad you called.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, guys. This is My Dad's Office. I'm Jonathan. Thanks for watching.
Wow.